AI is transforming industries at an absolute breakneck pace. But today, we're unpacking a massive, really exciting leap in its ability to decode one of the most complex, high-stakes environments in the entire world, the financial sector. Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this with a pretty provocative question. Can AI truly understand the stock market? Look, we all know that large language models, or LLMs, are incredibly powerful. I mean, they can write code, draft emails, they even pass medical exams. But when it comes to the dense, highly specialized language of the stock market, they frequently trip up. Honestly, it's kind of like asking a brilliant poet to suddenly perform complex corporate accounting. So, you might be wondering, why do off-the-shelf AI models just totally faceplant when reading dense financial documents like earnings reports? Well, there are a few main culprits here. First, they are highly prone to hallucinations, making things up when they don't know the answer, which is obviously unacceptable when millions of dollars are on the line. Second, financial documents are absolutely loaded with domain-specific jargon and variations in terminology that change wildly from one company to the next. And finally, these documents have really complex hierarchical formats. They aren't just simple blocks of text, they're structured reports, and general-purpose LLMs just don't handle that structure well at all. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the financial data dilemma, look at vectors versus knowledge graphs, break down the hybrid RAG solution, check out testing on real data, and finish up with the final verdict. All right, part 1, the financial data dilemma, high-stakes extraction. For financial analysts, extracting data from unstructured reports is a high-stakes game. To solve this dilemma, researchers rely on RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. The crucial thing to understand here is this. Instead of just asking an AI a question and hoping it knows the answer from its past training, RAG actually forces the AI to look up relevant, external, verifiable facts before it generates a response. It's basically the foundational technology used to stop those AI hallucinations we just talked about. Moving on to part 2, vectors versus knowledge graphs. Two powerful methods. Think of vector RAG kind of like skimming a massive textbook looking for highlighted keywords. The documents are broken down into smaller chunks, converted into mathematical vectors, and then indexed. So when you ask a question, it finds the chunks of text that are most broadly similar to your query. It's fantastic for finding general context, but because it breaks everything down into isolated chunks, it completely loses the hierarchical big picture of the financial statement. Now compare that to GraphRag. GraphRag doesn't just hunt for keywords. It actually builds a knowledge graph. Think of this like a detective's string board, mapping out all the suspects and their relationships. It reads the documents, extracts entities like CEOs, companies, revenue numbers, and maps out exactly how they relate to each other. It's brilliant for understanding structure, but as researchers found, it totally fails at answering abstract questions where a specific entity isn't explicitly mentioned in your prompt. So we're stuck with this ultimate dilemma, right? VectorRag gives you great broad searches, but loses the structure. GraphRag maps perfect relationships, but fails at abstract queries. The reality is, neither model alone can perfectly navigate the complexities of an earnings call transcript. If you're an analyst asking a highly nuanced question, neither of these alone is going to give you the flawless answer you need. Which brings us to part 3, the hybrid RAG solution, combining the best. To solve this exact problem, a team of researchers from BlackRock and NVIDIA proposed something absolutely brilliant: hybrid RAG. It acts sort of like Voltron. Step 1, it retrieves broad textual context using vector RAG. Step 2, it retrieves structured entity relationships using graph RAG. And step 3, it concatenates or basically mashes together both of those contexts and feeds them straight into the large language model. It merges that broad similarity search with relationship-driven data mapping. It's the best of both worlds. All right, part 4, testing on real data, the Indian stock market. Now, the researchers didn't just test this on a handful of simple documents in a lab. No way. They scaled it up. They used the Q1 earnings call transcripts of the 50 largest Indian companies, commonly known as the Nifty 50 Index. And the sheer volume of data per document is just wild. We are talking about an average of 60,000 tokens processed per transcript. That alone proves the intense complexity and the massive scale of the tests they were running. These are dense, conversational, highly technical financial documents. So, to figure out which system was actually the best, they set the stage for a dramatic data showdown between VectorRag, GraphRag, and the new hybrid RAG. They evaluated them across 4 really rigorous metrics:
First, faithfulness. Is the answer actually supported by the text? Answer relevance. Does it actually answer the user's question? Context precision. Are the retrieved chunks highly relevant? And finally, context recall. Did it find all the necessary information to form a complete answer?
And finally, part 5, the final verdict. Let's see who the winner is.
When it comes to answer relevancy, which basically means generating highly relevant answers to the complex questions posed by financial analysts, Hybrid RAG crushes it with a massive score of 0.96, easily beating both Vector RAG at 0.91 and Graph RAG at 0.89. Looking across all the metrics, pay special attention to the faithfulness and recall rows. Hybrid RAG perfectly balances top-tier faithfulness with a flawless 1.00 in context recall. Now, you might notice Hybrid RAG takes a small hit on context precision, dropping down to 0.79. But actually, scratch that. It's not a flaw. The researchers explain this is completely expected. Because Hybrid RAG merges the context from both the vector and graph databases, it feeds the AI a much larger block of text. It essentially trades a tiny bit of precision to ensure it never, ever misses the vital context required to answer the question perfectly. Ultimately, the hybrid advantage is crystal clear. It excels at abstract queries where Graph RAG fails, and it maintains structured entity relationships where Vector RAG fails. It seamlessly covers the blind spots of its predecessors. But honestly, perhaps most importantly, the researchers point out that systems like Hybrid RAG have the potential to democratize complex financial analysis. This is going to empower a much broader range of analysts and stakeholders to effortlessly navigate incredibly dense financial data. We've just seen how merging two powerful retrieval methods allows AI to decode the labyrinth of corporate earnings calls with stunning accuracy. Which leaves us with this final, profound thought to chew on. If AI can now master the incredibly nuanced, high-stakes jargon of the financial sector, what complex industry will it conquer next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.